Hello again, this is James Swanwick. I'm coming to you today from Burleigh Heads, which is a place on the Gold Coast, on the east coast of Australia. Nice to talk to you wherever you are. Back in January in Austin, Texas, we had our annual alcohol-free lifestyle wellness weekend. It was a bit of a mouthful, wasn't it? And we had clients fly in from around the country to spend 2 wonderful days with us at the Hyatt Regency Hotel, overlooking Lady Bird Lake, just on the south side of Congress Avenue in downtown Austin. I spoke, Project 90's top coach Victoria English spoke. I had a couple of friends of mine based in Austin come in and speak, Jesse Elder and Andy Drish on relationships and conscious communication. We did some dancing, we did some exercises. It was a wonderful time. And Project 90's top coach, Victoria English, gave a keynote talk, which you're about to listen to. And it's titled, Harnessing Feelings to Conquer Alcohol and Self-Judgement. Harnessing Feelings to Conquer Alcohol and Self-Judgement. So if you weren't able to attend in person our event, the good news is that you get to listen to a couple of the presentations there. In fact, Victoria did a guided meditation at the event as well, which if you go back 2 podcast episodes, you will find, I think it was released on Tuesday, February 22nd here, entitled A Guided Meditation, Victoria English. And I would encourage you to have a listen to that. But for now, we're going to hear Victoria talk about harnessing feelings to conquer alcohol and self-judgment. Just a little bit of context. Victoria is a cancer survivor in her early 50s, and she is a mother of 4. And she's been doing an outstanding job at inspiring all of our Project 90 clients. For those who are unaware, Project 90 is our flagship coaching program. We help high performers, including entrepreneurs and investors, and folks who are pretty successful in life, but they just can't seem to get power over alcohol. Their life's pretty good in many ways, but just can't seem to get over that alcohol hump. And so we help folks like that. Through 90 days, coach them, hold them accountable, give them some community. It's really fun time. If that interests you, you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/project90 and you can find some more details there. If you would like to have a verbal conversation just to see if it could be for you, you're welcome to schedule a call with either Victoria herself, who you'll just be listening to, or with Jim Martin, who's an enrollment coach with us, whose father was an alcoholic, and his brother also tragically died in alcohol-related activity. This is meaningful work to everyone who works inside of my organization. We really care. We really want you to conquer this and live your best life. And, ultimately this is not about never drinking again, okay? What this is about is living your best life. And probably if you're listening to me now, living your best life is escaping you because alcohol is getting in the way. So what we do is we get alcohol out of the way so you are able to then have a better marriage, be more present with your children, lose 20 pounds, have more energy, start that business, grow that business, get a promotion, have more energy, sleep better, and so forth. Whatever your goals are, we help you achieve them, and we do that by just getting alcohol out of your life and then holding you accountable to the things that you want to achieve. So if you would like to participate in that program, it is a premium coaching program. So we do work with professionals, entrepreneurs, that kind of demographic, and definitely over the age of 30. Most of our clients are in their 40s on average, but 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. My experience has been folks in their 20s are still not ready to quit alcohol. The pain is it's not great enough for them yet. Thrilled if you're in your 20s here at the moment listening, because you are already miles ahead of most folks in the world who have succumbed to cultural conditioning and drinking a lot. But I kind of put an age demographic limit on it of 30 plus, because I don't even remember the last 20-something we had in our Project 90 experience. I think we had one back in 2018, but since then, none. Sometimes I get folks who book calls with us, and explore it, but then they never take action. It's just, I guess it makes sense, because the older we get, more into middle age we get, the further along we get, the more we realize that we've got less time remaining on the planet, and we want to ensure that we're there for our families and we're there for our children and we're showing up the best way we can. So it does make sense. So anyway, if that is you and you'd like to speak verbally to us about that, you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/schedule. The link is also in the description of this very podcast. I am now on TikTok. So many social media platforms now. You can find me at James Swanwick on TikTok. There was a video that I published overnight, and I woke up and it had 48,000 views on it, which I was astounded by. But anyway, I'm over there. I have a free book I'd be happy to send you. It's called the 30-Day No Alcohol Challenge book, which has the process for quitting drinking in it. The same process that we walk our Project 90 clients through, but this book is free. You just cover the shipping, which is about $7 or $8, depending on where you are in the US. It might be a bit more if you're outside of the US. But if you want something to read at night in your hands rather than digital downloads, alcoholfreelifestyle.com/book. You can read that book in about an hour. I deliberately make it small, tiny, compact, because if it's a big book, you're less likely to read it, so it's short and sweet. If you haven't got the Alcohol Freedom Formula guide and you love downloading stuff and you want to be on your screens, then go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. That's also another resource. And just a reminder, we've got the YouTube channel, alcoholfreelifestyle.com/YouTube will take you there. And yeah, I think that's it. All right, so here's Victoria English, our outstanding coach from Project 90. She's speaking at our annual Alcohol-Free Lifestyle Wellness Weekend in Austin, Texas. Take it away, Coach Victoria.
Because, you know, when we're drinking, of course we betray those values. We aren't honest. We trustworthy. We can't trust ourselves. We say we value family, health, career, yet we show the world and ourselves each day that we don't. Not really. But what we learn in Project 90 is that's not who you are. That was a version of you under the influence of a highly addictive substance. So you get to come back to that. We talk about the improvement in your sleep. And yes, part of that is because you're detoxing your body from this toxin. But there's also so much less clutter at the end of the day. You're not beating yourself up all the time. You're not negotiating. Tomorrow's day one. That's it. I'm going to stick to it. So of course we sleep better. So the question is, why would we give it up? Why would we ever go back? It sounds insane, and yet we do it. There's got to be a reason, right? You know, in my coaching, I love to defer to the science because that's what worked for me. I tried years of AA, I tried therapy, I tried all the things. And I was really getting to the point that I thought, I might be one of those unfortunate people that I just never get it. This might just be how I am. And man, that was hard. If you've heard one of my recent podcasts, are you an inspiration or a cautionary tale? I share my story in that had cancer taken me out, had breast cancer knocked me down, and that was it for me, my legacy would have been one of inspiration. I have 4 children. And they would have said, oh, my mom, she was a warrior, she was a fighter. She lost the battle, but man, what a woman. People would have celebrated me. I would have been an inspiration. If alcohol had done that, my legacy would have been a cautionary tale. My family and friends would have said, wow, she fought like hell through breast cancer, and then alcohol kicked her ass. That's what took her out. Cautionary tale. We don't want to grow up to be like mom. So what worked for me in the beginning was the science. I had to believe there was a reason that this had happened to me. A smart, educated, loving mother, friend, daughter. So that helped me stop drinking, understanding how this had happened to my body and my brain. I was a wellness professional. I knew what alcohol did to the body, and I still did it. Was I mad? Maybe. So when I figured out what was happening, there was such a sense of relief. I said, okay, now this makes sense. I have a body and a brain, and if you have those two things, you can get hooked on alcohol. It's not a character defect. You're a human. This is a drug. So that really helped me stop. And then the real work came. I had to stay stopped. And like Kevin and James, I don't future trip in that way. I don't say, I will never, ever have a drink. Because my brain would go, what are you talking about? That's a bit dramatic. But I knew that there was more work to do. It wasn't enough to understand the science of it. And so I had to do something that was really scary. It was really scary. I had to feel. I had to feel the emotions. I had to feel the things that I had been drinking over for years. I was pouring down my throat this toxin that I was hoping would hold those feelings down, except it only drove me into a pit. And the feelings that I wanted to experience, with or without drinking, began to dissipate as well. Happiness, joy, no. Serenity, no way. So in my work, I learned about where feelings come from. What are these mysterious things that we use alcohol to access and to avoid? And I started doing some research. And there is a psychologist out of Northeastern University. Her name is Dr. Lisa Barrett. She's identified 3 layers of emotions. The first is affect. Affect is something you feel in your body. What's something you feel in your body?
Hunger,
Pain, physical or emotional. Anxiety. There's lots of things. So affect is something you can feel. So if you close your eyes, you can imagine one of those feelings. Maybe it's hunger, about to come up on lunch. Maybe a feeling you had when you were getting on a plane yesterday. Affect. The next is meaning. Well, before I go there, make a list, just a brief list, of the physical feelings that you crave, that you like to feel. The ones that would go in the, quote, good category. And in the next column, make a list of the physical feelings that you like to avoid the most. Who can share something that they avoid? Pain. Okay? We avoid, let's go with emotional.
anger and frustration.
Anger and frustration. Absolutely.
Intimacy.
Boredom. Well, then it makes sense that we would use alcohol to anesthetize those things, to avoid them, not think about them. What about the good ones, the ones you seek?
Intimacy.
All the single ladies, I hear you.
Playfulness.
Playfulness. fulfillment, contentment. So didn't we also use alcohol for that? Because, as I've said before, the stuff works. For 30 minutes to an hour, it works. If it didn't, if it took us straight to the next morning, nobody would be here right now because we'd all be drinking tea. It wouldn't be a thing. Marketers couldn't sell to us by saying, you're going to feel like hell the next day. Go have some of this. No way. Chris would be hard-pressed to create an ad campaign for that one. They market to the good stuff because they know it works. And again, if you have a body and a brain, it's going to work for a little while. So if we're drinking to avoid things, and over time we realize the things that we are drinking in order to feel the good stuff, when that scale is tipped, we keep trying. We keep chasing the good stuff, even though the return on investment has become very dismal. That goes toward meaning. What meaning do you give to something like intimacy? What meaning do you give to playfulness? What meaning do you give to anger? Anxiety. When you feel something that is uncomfortable, what do you say to yourself? Take a moment, 30 seconds, a minute. When you feel anger, when you feel yourself avoiding intimacy, what does your inner voice say about that? 30 seconds. Christina loves the inner critic work. It's a glimpse into Beyond 90, the great beyond. Anybody like to share?
Sometimes say, get me out of this, or what's on Netflix, or I tend to go eat. Admittedly, I eat very well, but when I'm feeling resistance around something, instinctively I'm like, oh, let me get out of this by going and eating. Yeah.
So you see, that's a perfect example. Even though the coaches in here have been alcohol-free for quite a while, there's still work to be done. There's still resistance because this stuff comes from way back. So judgment is what we think about what we think. Judgment can reinforce the affect. So James, if you're feeling a resistance to intimacy, can you describe where you feel it in your body?
It kind of feel whenever I have resistance around anything, whether it's intimacy or anything, it feels at times like my head is in a vice. Someone's screwing the wheel. And it might be just about decision making, quite frankly. It could just be any decision that I have to make which feels heavy. And then it's like my head feels like in a vice, and then I go into a list of pros and cons of making this choice, and then I get in this loop, and the whole thing feels kind of like, And so temporarily I will seek refuge in going out and eating or something else. Scrolling on and checking Tottenham stories on the internet. Just go down a rabbit hole for 10 or 15 minutes of just mindless scrolling.
It's very honest. Thank you. Who has something to add to that? Where do you feel it in your body when you attach a judgment? When that inner voice that you just wrote about, when it judges, where do you feel it? What's it feel like? I loved his description of the vice, something being screwed on tight. Kev? Oh, go ahead, Raina.
I feel it in my gut. Like it's feeling in my stomach. Yeah, like just like.
Is it like a sharp pain, or is it like a nausea, churning?
Like, that's not very descriptive, is it? I'm a pretty articulate person.
You are.
But like this sinking.
A heaviness weighted. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To James's point about in the head, my kids when they were growing up, and I haven't done this in a long time, but they would always say, "Uh-oh," because if something came up, I would go. And they just knew something was going down. Yeah. And it was right here, like whatever it was. Oh, Dad, they used to make fun of me, like, "Oh, here you go."
Yeah. Yep.
Your body language gives you away, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I put my hand on my head. I think Kevin could probably talk to that when we've been on Zoom calls over the years. What do I do?
Oh, yeah, you do.
I do that?
Yes, and I can actually feel you doing that via text sometimes when we're chatting. Yes, I can say, oh, I bet he's rubbing his head. I can also feel the vice around your head and stuff too, because, oh boy. Right. The Body Keeps the Score. That's a great book. The Body Keeps the Score. Your body knows what's up. But the judgment that you have around things that are happening in your body, what does that do? That reinforces the affect. So if you're feeling, how'd you put it, up against the wall or in a stressful situation, and you feel that in your body, and then meaning gets attached, and then judgment. And what does that do? Does that help relax you? No. It reinforces it. So can you imagine, as I was becoming alcohol-free, finally for reals, because I'll tell you something, guys, I went 90 days without drinking. I went 6 months without drinking. I went almost a year without drinking because I finally understood it. Now, I understood what happened in my body. I could think it through. I could think about it. The missing piece was the feeling. I had to get that part. That's why this is important. That's where it becomes part of who you are, is understanding the feeling part. And I know that's uncomfortable. It's so much more in our nature to figure things out. Everyone in here is a high achiever. We figure things out. We get things done. So when I learned about the science, I was like, okay, I got this. Except I didn't got it. And it can be a little scary. And that's okay. Because everyone in here has done scary before. This is a different kind of scary.
I just wanted to tack onto that with the meditation we did earlier. So this is like why meditation is so important to me and to a lot of people is the Buddhists talk about this, that emotions, feelings will happen to you naturally because you're a human being, right? You'll feel the tension in your body. And when we get ourselves in trouble is the narrative we create around.
Yes.
Like, a lot of people don't know this, but anxiety and excitement manifest themselves the exact same way in your body. Same feeling, but the way you talk about them in your head totally changes your perspective.
Yep.
Right? Whether you're anxious or excited. And so that's why the Buddhists talk about being mindful, because it's feeling the emotion, and then before you spin off into that narrative, you catch yourself and say, okay, this is just an emotion. Do I want to engage with this, or do I want to let this pass?
Yes.
Is it healthy or is it not?
Love that. Thanks, Coach Travis. No, that's fantastic, though. I mean, well, that's what I love about this work, is everything plays in. Dr. Barrett may have studied some Buddhism and thought, I'm going to use my science brain and take a look at this. When we become alcohol-free, we really, really become lifelong learners. And isn't that the best? People talk about, well, isn't being alcohol-free boring? No, what's boring is drinking. It's like the playbook's about this big, right? Well, I'm gonna end up like this, or worse. We get to live in such curiosity and learn from each other. It's fascinating. So I'm gonna pull out everyone's favorite thing. Where's James Green when we need him, right? Oh, is it in there? Oh, all right. Rick gets a gold star. He brought his feelings wheel. We've touched on this on some calls. We go way into it in Beyond 90. I've said, you should make this your screensaver. Not your children, your spouse, or your dog. Feelings wheel. Okay, the feelings wheel. I was introduced to this masterpiece when I decided to take the dive, to take the plunge. Because, as Kevin mentioned, I kept that awareness of the hell I was in when I was drinking in my pocket. I didn't live there. I stopped feeling ashamed. Instead, I felt tremendous compassion for that version of myself. Something I thought I could never find. It happens. And I remember seeing this thing. And of course, I'm trying to figure it out. Well, which way does this thing go? What is this? I mean, it was like looking at Mandarin. I mean, I don't know. So then I learned how to use this thing. And that is one of the most important things, this little paper, that has kept me free of alcohol. In fact, made me free. Because you can't think your way out of this habit. You got to feel your way. Remember that book, Going on a Bear Hunt? They say, you can't go over it, you can't go under it, you've got to go through it. I'm like, well, damn. That and Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss has a lot of pearls in there. But this is an I get to. This all becomes an I get to, which is awesome. Well, as I've said before, everyone in this community, it's no surprise, we're all control freaks. Okay, let's just put that out there. We're a bunch of control freaks. And how many of us used alcohol when we couldn't control things? Because we like to determine the outcome. We like to say how things should go. And when they don't, or when other people don't do what we know they should be doing, or something else. Because you might stay alcohol-free, but these patterns. The good thing is that one of the tools you can use to get control of affect, meaning, maybe not affect, affect, meaning, and judgment, definitely meaning and judgment, is by utilizing these tools. It's very interesting how this wheel came to be. And when you look at this, make a quick list of the emotions you view, let's stick with here, the inner circle, that you perceive as positive or negative. Jot that down. Jot positive emotion, negative emotion. Staying in the inner circle. So when we were drinking, would we drink to feel one of the positive emotions? Would we also drink to avoid the negative emotions? I see you, Karen. And so, what's one of the negative emotions? Fearful. Okay. Where do you feel fear? What's your affect? Do you see how, without going through this and understanding it, how Karen is vulnerable to doing the one thing she knows is going to get her out of that, at least for a minute? Because we're human, we crave comfort. We crave feeling good. And if we can't feel good when we're feeling one of the negative, well, at least we want to feel numb. So at first, drinking's fun, feels good, it feels awesome. After a while, maybe not so much, but it's better than feeling the other stuff. So, okay, yeah, it's not bringing me happiness, but it's getting me out of that just for a little bit so that I can feel numb, so that I can catch my breath. I can unclench my fists. I can unscrew my head. I can shut off my brain. So what would it feel like if the meaning that you give that feeling could be reframed? What if you learned how to validate it? When you're feeling angry with another person, how often does that person come to you and validate you? I'm sure, Karen, your ex-husband does lots of that, right? Oh, Karen, I receive that. I receive your anger. Yes. Yes, exactly. Humor, laughter, right, exactly. Drinking poison and expecting another person to die. I'll show you. How many times did you drink at people? Yeah. My ex-husband came home one time. He was my husband at the time. And he comes in and I look at him. I had found scotch. I didn't even drink scotch, but I was willing to because he deserved it. And he's like, how much scotch did you drink? And I was like, enough. Okay, well, that really hurt him. It's insane, but it's what we did because we didn't know better. I didn't know better. So what if we could reframe it a little bit? But before we do that, I'd like to do some gender stuff here. And this is a generalization. From the time we were young, what were we allowed to feel as men and women?
Happy and sad.
Sorry?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I thought you were asking.
Yes, I am.
We were allowed to feel happy and sad as kids.
Happy and sad.
Maybe scared from time to time.
Absolutely.
We weren't supposed to be
Girls were
angry.
definitely allowed to be scared.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Poor little us. And we were supposed to feel happy. And if we felt sad, we'd better snap out of it or I'll give you something to cry about.
Or if we were angry, we weren't supposed to feel angry, so we would make it about being sad.
Bingo.
You know, because that was allowed, even though you got to snap out of it and be happy.
Yes.
It's this like cycle of you're actually angry or frustrated, or whatever, but you can't feel that, so it must be
Yes.
sad.
We receive the messaging from a young age that we are supposed to feel a certain way. And if you feel one of the ways you're not supposed to or allowed to feel, then you better snap out of it, or you better hide it as something else. And for women, anger, sad, sort of, maybe. Then we're a little bit dramatic, a little bit. She's, you know. How about men? What are you allowed to feel or supposed to feel? What shouldn't you feel?
Can't feel sad.
Can't feel sad.
Can't cry sometimes.
No.
Can't be weak.
Can't be weak.
Can't hug another man.
Everyone go give James a hug later. And so for men, what do you cover that up with? What do you default to?
Overcompensate, like toughness.
How about anger? Oh, yeah. Men are allowed to be angry, right?
I know I tried to hide some of those feelings with bravado and arrogance, confidence, being pompous,
Yes.
righteous, try and hide my actual feelings. Yeah.
Yes.
There's something my mom said a million times to me, and didn't occur to me until right now how awful it was. She said, smile, did anybody else get this? Smile and the world smiles with you.
Oh, yeah.
Cry, and you cry all alone.
Yeah.
That's healthy.
A million times. Oh, I'm so sorry you missed it.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, you know. And of course, for women, resting bitch face, you know, where strangers will tell you to smile. And rest isn't bitch, you know.
Yes.
You know, it's no, that's just my face. I'm thinking about something else altogether. But
Yeah.
you know, it's our job to smile and look pleasant and pleasant, and you know, or else, you know, why you got to be sad for? It's making me sad, you know. Like,
Oh, yes.
well, you got to get over it because you know I can't have you moping around here being.
Right. Yeah, women get all sorts of Botox and filler to avoid that resting bitch face. Can't have that. Can't be angry. So, wouldn't it make sense? Quick example. James says he covered up sadness with bravado. Maybe some anger. So when men do that, when they come off like that, they're badasses. How about when women come off as that?
We're bitches.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Wall Street. If you're assertive and you're a man, you're a badass. If you're assertive and you're a woman, you're a bitch.
Emily is a doctor. How's that?
Yes, it's exactly. I have to be soft. I can't be assertive and straight to the point.
So we receive this messaging. What about a woman? She feels angry. She goes into sadness. And she's perceived as feminine, maybe a little hysterical. What if men go from angry to sad? What do they say about you guys?
Pussy.
Exactly.
Soft.
Soft. Ridiculous, right? So what do we do about it? Well, this is where it gets really cool. This is the I get to. This is not gender specific. We all have all of these. It's the messaging we've received. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, society. But guess what? It comes down now to the inner critic and what you're going to decide. Because what I love about this process is once you have awareness, you have a choice. What time is it, by the way? 12:37. I got to tie it up. Once you have awareness, you have a choice. So this is your awareness. And now you have a choice. When we're drinking, I've shared this with you guys before. We hang out here. The primitive brain, the primitive emotions. And we may drink to access some and avoid others. When we put this judgment, like anger, we're staying in that primitive brain. That leaves us very vulnerable, you guys. The good news is, as we clear our bodies clear this toxin from our bodies, the thinking brain gets to have a vote again. We help you create that pause so that you can choose your response instead of staying in reaction. So, this is where a little bravery and a little faith comes in. When you fall into one of these, we did this with Karen. Karen, do you mind if I choose you again? Okay. Angry is Karen's default. Anger is typically kind of masking some stuff, as James talked about. If she stays in anger, she's going to continue to go out here. But that's not the most dangerous part. The most dangerous part, if she stays here, she's going to drink, that primitive part of the brain. If she goes a little further out, she can explore these feelings. Instead of anger, what about, I feel let down. I feel frustrated. I feel withdrawn. I feel disrespected. That's where the vulnerability comes in. But it doesn't have to be with other people. You can't expect it from others. You give it to yourself. If you can look in the mirror or write it down, I feel betrayed. And so what's possible that's underneath that anger, hello? It's okay. What's underneath the anger is another emotion, sad. So for the guys, yeah, I'm angry. What if you're sad? What if you could learn to be okay with that? What if you could learn to cease judgment just for a few minutes? What would that sound like in your head? For a guy to say, I'm sad, and then move out here. Come on, just chill. Jeez. And sometimes that person might be you. You can learn to count on yourself. See, we get to trust ourselves again. You can count on yourself. You can validate yourself. And then guess what? It'll pass through. Just like we know happiness is up and down, it comes and it goes, so do these things, unless you hang on to them by pushing them down with something else. Alcohol, social media, food. Name your thing. What color is your shirt, I call it. You're not going to die from these emotions. Alcohol is likely going to shorten your life if you go back to it. And so, can you learn to stop judging yourself in little ways? Ask yourself, when that primitive emotion comes up, what's a quick breathing technique, a quick grounding technique that you guys use to allow this part of your brain a chance to chime in? As you learn to do this, it will become more and more natural. It's going to feel really awkward, but you guys have already done awkward, right? And as I said about control, eventually you do learn to control this by stopping controlling it. So the takeaway is notice, awareness. When does that inner critic come up and judge what you're feeling and tell you you shouldn't or you should? So embrace it. Roll with it. Get curious about how it's going to work out, because if you don't, the odds are going to increase that that old default is going to be waving at you. Embrace it. See what's on the other side of it. It's not going to be as bad as waking up with a hangover. I can promise you that. Yeah. We've done the really hard part. And how's it worked out? How have all those years of trying to access only the good stuff and push away the bad stuff, how's that worked out for you? You go, right? I mean, if it worked, we'd keep doing it. It's not working. So try this on. If you don't like it, you can always go back to your old ways of thinking and maybe drinking, maybe not. And trust is something that takes some time. But like I remind us all the time, and I remind myself of this, I've always been that person with the same core values. She just went on a walkabout. Someone sent me a meme the other day. It said something like, when you have anxiety because you don't have an anxiety because the anxiety's gone. Because you get so caught up in that, like, I'm an anxious person, I'm an anxious person. Wait. Do I feel, and you come in present with yourself and you say, am I anxious? Actually, I'm not. Oh God, I'm not anxious. We're all a work in progress, so get curious about it. See what it's like, try it on. And yes, there might be some tears and there might be some moments, but again, you don't have to cast it in front of everyone. All right, guys, we're gonna wind up. I'm sorry, I went on and on. Everyone's probably starving. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode.
I want to load you up with some free stuff. If you look in the show description, there's a link there to get my guide, which is the Alcohol Freedom Formula Guide. And in that guide, I will walk you through the process and system for successfully reducing or quitting alcohol. It's the same system and process that I give to my clients inside of Project 90. And if you would like to get your hands on that guide, you can click the link in the description part of this episode, or you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. Likewise, if you would like to be considered for Project 90 to join our community and get some accountability, some coaching, and have fun, achieve some goals over at least 90 days with our help and support, then you're invited to schedule a complimentary coaching call with one of my coaches. You can do that by clicking the link in the show description or going to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/schedule. Now, Project 90 is for over 30s only. And it's really for people who are ready to get long-term power over alcohol. You don't have to quit forever, but you will have to quit for at least 90 days with our support. Just a reminder, 95% of my content is free and plastered all over the internet. If you just Google James Swanwick and the word alcohol, you'll find that. For those of you who want additional support, if you want coaching, fun, accountability, if you realize that you can't do this on your own or you just plain don't want to, then I invite you to schedule that call and we can talk about if Project 90 is for you. If you would like to take some of my supplements, swanvitality.com is the website. I'll put a link in the show notes as well. I have a liver support product called Loving Liver, which I designed and specially formulated to help remove toxins from your liver after years of alcohol consumption. Again, there's a link in the show description. We've also got a green powder there, which turns into a green juice filled with amazing ingredients to support you and give you energy throughout the day. And there's also a magnesium product, which I take every night to help me prepare for sleep and to sleep through the night. So there's a few options there. Lastly, if this episode or the show in general has helped you or supported you in any way, I would so appreciate it if you would write a review. It really does help the show climb the rankings and expose the show to people who don't yet know about us. So if this show has benefited you in any way and you feel compelled to pay it forward, just writing a short little review, hopefully a nice one, will be so appreciated and I will thank you immensely. Lastly, if you'd like to talk to me about anything at all, feel free to send me an email at james@alcoholfreelifestyle.com. I do read and respond to every email. And you can also follow me on Instagram at James Swanwick. Send me a message there. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. Catch you on the next one.